It has been 1 week since the U.S. presidential debate turned debacle for Joe Biden. It took less than 90 minutes for Biden to seem less the elder statesman and much more the elderly statesman. On this Independence Day in the United States, some problematic, perhaps painful questions for patriotic Americans. Is now the time to stand by their president as he runs for a second term? Or is now the time for the president to say there won't be a second term?
Dealing with everything we have to do with, look.
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
Like a lot of people, I was pretty horrified by the debate.
I think it's a legitimate question to say, is this an episode or is this a condition?
I think he's fit for office.
Yes, fit for office.
The president is clear-eyed, and he is staying in the race.
Joe Biden is our nominee. We beat Trump once, and we're going to beat him again.
I don't debate as well as I used to. But I know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth.
1 week since the debate that punctuated a presidency. Last Thursday, Americans wondered, would the face-off between President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump change anything about the race for the White House? This Thursday, Americans are wondering, how much longer will Biden remain in the White House? Now, this week, Biden has told his campaign team, Democratic governors, and major party donors that he is committed to winning a second term in November. This despite his disastrous debate performance and the fallout. The latest polls show support for Biden falling, support for Donald Trump rising. Now, Donald Trump did not deliver a stellar performance on stage either. Fact checkers were busy following up on dozens of lies presented by Trump as fact. It may have been disturbing to viewers, but it was nothing new. Biden's seemingly inability to keep his thoughts together, that was also disturbing. For many, the doubts they had about Biden before the debate were finally confirmed during the debate.
I think it was a very unfortunate thing. I think he should never have done that because his inadequacies that he have, they're not going to stop him from being the president. But you have public opinion, and you have people that have different opinions about it. I think he can still do what he needs to do as the president. He's just not as cognizant as he used to be.
To me, it looks like he has dementia, Alzheimer's, the way he speaks. He's just not good at all right now for us. When Trump was president, everything was like settled a little bit. No one messed with us. Now everything is all over the place. So yeah. For me, I would vote for Trump this year.
And for more now, I'm joined by Ian Bremmer. He's an author and president of the Geopolitical Risk Consultancy Eurasia Group. Ian, it's good to have you back on the show. I mean, it's been a week since that presidential debate that no one has stopped talking about, and I guess that includes President Biden himself. I want you to take a listen to what the president said about that yesterday.
I had a bad night. And the fact of the matter is that, I screwed up. I made a mistake. But I learned from my father, when you get knocked down, just get back up. Get back up. And, we're going to win this election. We're going to just beat Donald Trump like we did in 2020. We're going to beat him again. But we need all of you to get this done, all of you. Look, I came back I was in a situation where I was wired. I didn't have a good debate. That's 90 minutes on stage. Look at what I've done in 3.5 years.
So, Ian, you've got the president there saying, judge me by the past 3.5 years. Don't judge me by 90 minutes from last week. But the polls suggest that is not what people are doing.
This has been the most significant concern of Biden's campaign and potential reelection is that he's too old to serve. I've never seen an election campaign in any major democracy where a person running is clearly not going to be physically able to serve out the entire term. And there's nobody that thinks that Biden would be able for 4 more years to actually act as president. Now, I mean, that implies he really shouldn't have been running for re-election a year ago, and a lot of people have been saying that and concerned about it, but Biden himself has not been. And so now we are where we are. It's not that Biden got knocked down. He didn't get knocked down. Trump's performance in the debate wasn't actually particularly strong. I mean, he was loud and he was robust, but it's not like he was fully coherent in all of his answers, and he made a lot of stuff up, as he always does. If Biden had lost the debate but came across as vigorous and strong and capable, I don't think we'd be having this challenge right now. The issue is that what everyone's been worried about quietly, everyone now is worried about in public. And that is the fact that Biden's age and his physical capacity, and to less of a degree, perhaps, his mental acuity, but it's really, I think, about the ability to just serve in the role. It's a very, very pressing job. Very few people believe that he's up for that. And that is the nature of the crisis that he and the Democratic Party today is facing in the United States.
So the Biden campaign, the president himself, what are they asking then of Democrats in America? Fall in line, even if you can't fall in love again with me?
I don't think they're asking that. I actually, if you listen to what Biden has been saying and what a lot of his supporters, and I mean senior supporters, I'm talking about people like Nancy Pelosi, the former Speaker of the House, a lot of well-respected senators on the Democratic side. They are saying that this is a problem and it needs to be addressed. And frankly, it needs to have been addressed a week ago. That they shouldn't have waited until Friday, the week after the debate, to have a sit-down, no-holds-barred taped interview with a friendly George Stephanopoulos. They needed to be out there more immediately and more extensively. But they know that over the next weeks, they're going to have to address this in a way that is seen as satisfactory by the bulk of Biden supporters, or Biden is going to have to stand down. And if you ask me what I expect at this point, and I'm not saying this on the basis of having spoken to Biden, but I expect that Biden will not be the nominee. I think his name will not be on the ballot in November.
So then what are we going to see tomorrow when Biden sits down with George Stephanopoulos from ABC News? I mean, that has been reported as it will be an extended interview. So we assume the president plans to address, the debate and its fallout. I mean, is there anything, do you think, that he can say to reverse the momentum against him?
He can certainly try. And remember, I mean, the State of the Union, which was a set piece, but was over an hour, and Biden was coherent, he was robust, it was only a few months ago, did set aside a lot and quiet a lot of the concerns about his age. I think if he's able to give an interview that has that level of vibrancy, consistency, and also address the relevant points, and set out how he's going to keep doing this going forward for the coming months, I think you'll quiet a lot of the concerns, but you won't end them. I mean, the New York Times, which is the paper of record for the center establishment in the United States, in other words, it's Biden's paper, came out and said with their editorial board, it's time for him to stand down. There are a lot of people around Biden that are not nearly as strong in their support for him as they should be at this point of the election, given that he has gotten the electors, he's gotten all of the votes to become the nominee. And it's because these people are deeply concerned. If it's a choice between Biden and Trump, the vast majority of them will still vote for Biden. But is he going to win in an election with two very unpopular people and where every vote turnout really counts in these swing states? I think the answer is, number one, right now, if you had an election between Biden and Trump compared to Kamala Harris and Trump, the polls are telling you they are about the same. And over the last year, that wasn't true. Now, if you told me that this is a blip and that Biden is going forward not going to have more of these moments. There won't be another crisis, and attention will go back to Trump's unfitness, and the reasons for that are legion, the economy, the Supreme Court, abortion, the border, migration, then I would say, why not stick with Biden? But that is very unlikely.
Do you think
very unlikely? We've seen over the last week, they haven't been able to address this, and it's because of Biden's 81, and he can the spirit may be willing, but the body can only do so much.
Well, if he were to have a condition, because I've heard the word condition said a lot, particularly from Nancy Pelosi, that if this is a condition that he's dealing with, right? Can you imagine the White House going public with it? You know, we've had lots of doctors tell us off the record what they think could be going on here. They've given it a name. I mean, I don't want to report any hearsay, but they've talked about a possible condition here. If the White House were to come out and announce that the president does have a condition, that would be the kiss of death for re-election, correct?
Which is fine. Again, I mean, if I were advising Biden on his re-election campaign, right after the debate, I would have said neurological exam today, fully transparent, and either it's great or it's over. But you've got to address this now and immediately. Get on the phone immediately with your top governors, your top senators, your top donors. Talk to them, engage with them, reassure them. That didn't happen for days. Yeah. So, I mean, either there's something that we're not being told, or staff is being incredibly cautious and conservative, or Biden has told staff for whatever reason he doesn't want to do it. But either way, the crisis management has not been what it needs to be. And so in that regard, I mean, your expectation is not only is this not over, this issue is going to persist, but it's likely over the next 4 months, which is, an enormous amount of time for an election. It's likely to get worse. And if that's the case, it's not about if Biden is going to be the candidate. It's about when he's going to stand down, under what conditions. And I still think there's plenty of time to do that, but that's what they're wrestling with internally right now.
And it is getting the attention of the entire world. This is not, no longer just an American story. I want you to take a listen to what Russian President Vladimir Putin said when he was asked this week about Biden, the debate, and Donald Trump. Take a listen.
In general, of course, I saw it is impossible to ignore this, especially since the United States remains a great power with known capabilities in the field of economy, security, and military affairs. You know that Mr. Trump, as a presidential candidate, declares that he is ready and wants to stop the war in Ukraine. We take this quite seriously.
Ian, this is going to feed into what you're hearing on both sides of the Atlantic, that a Trump win would be a green light for, the likes of Putin, Xi Jinping to do what they want. I mean, isn't that also what's at stake in all of this, is maintaining the global order? Go ahead.
Let's remember, because you played that clip. Let's remember that Putin was the one that just a few weeks ago was out there publicly, and when he was asked about the election and saying, well, Biden is very experienced, and I think he would be the better candidate, the better president. That was what Putin was saying. And it's because Putin is full of crap consistently. So we should not be he's a propagandist. He puts out disinformation, and we should not be taking what he says at face value. Right? I mean, he wants to undermine American democracy, the U.S. system. This chaos is music for the war criminal leader of the Russian Federation. That's just a reality. I just want to push back on that because it annoys me that the headlines allow him to get away with this crap. But it is absolutely true that at the G7 meeting just a couple of weeks ago in Italy, the same issues were very much on display privately. But when Biden was meeting in unscripted environments with his top allies, and I heard back from a number of those people, a number of those heads of state and attendees that were there, who are deeply concerned that the U.S. president isn't going to be able to win in the election because of those vulnerabilities and won't be able to effectively govern if he does. So this is not new. It's new because the American people just saw it in a particularly direct and dramatic fashion over 90 minutes. But everyone has been airing this for a long time. And the fact that it comes at a time when American democracy is in crisis, that the ability of the U.S. to have a free and fair election that is seen as legitimate by its people is very much open to question, and that Biden's opponent should not be standing as a convicted felon, as someone that is clearly and repeatedly unfit for office. But because the support around Trump in his own party is so overwhelming, irrespective of what he does and how he acts and what he says. I mean, this is a man that literally in the last 24 hours just posted on his social media campaign something that said that Liz Cheney should be brought up for treason in military tribunal. He does that every day. That is absolutely unfit for someone who could become the president of a democracy. And that tells you that the United States is not the democracy that many countries around the world wish it was.
That brings me to our final question for you before we run out of time. Today is Independence Day, July 4th. A day to celebrate, or is it a day that sees just another day America is closer and closer to crisis and another crisis?
It's a day to celebrate, but it's also a day to recognize the accountability of the American citizens to continue to work on that democracy. It is not a gift that comes without cost. It requires continuous effort. And, you know, one of the things that makes me proudest to be an American is that when I sit here and I talk with you and your public about the things that I am worried about criticisms that I have for my government, that is not only something that is legal for me to do, but it is patriotic for me to do that. And that's what the U.S. stands for. There are many countries, there are billions of people around the world that would be imprisoned if they spoke honestly about their political system the way I and my fellow citizens can speak about ours. And it is not clear that that will persist going forward unless Americans continue to be committed to strengthening that reality.
Wise words from Ian Bremmer tonight. Ian, as always, we appreciate you taking the time to talk with us, and we will talk with you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.